Welcome to Catholic Ed for All, your weekly insight into topics of special education in Catholic schools. My name is Dr. Raul Escarpio, and I invite you to join me each week as we learn how to be more inclusive in Catholic schools and continue to live out St. John Paul II's message of open wide the doors to Christ. Many thanks go out to RCL Benziger, who is generously sponsoring this podcast. RCL Benziger enriches the worldwide Catholic community by providing the most engaging and highest quality resources, programs, and services rooted in the rich and diverse tradition of the Catholic faith. And now, on to our show. On the show today, I am joined by Dr. Barbara Edmondson, Chief Leadership and Program Officer for the National Catholic Educational Association. Hello, Barbara. Welcome to the show and thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure to be with you this afternoon.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Barbara, can you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I currently serve as the Chief Leadership and Program Officer at the National Catholic Educational Association, NCEA. But prior to coming to NCA, which was just last July, I served as the Superintendent of Schools in the Archdiocese of Baltimore and a principal for a number of years and a primary school teacher. So my years in Catholic education have been wide and varied, and I continue on that path because I know it's where the Lord calls me to be.
I love the fact that you just said that, but I'm going to take a really good exception right now, and I love my primary teachers. What grade did you teach when you were in primary?
I taught both kindergarten and first grade.
I always say, Barbara, if you had a good kindergarten teacher, they set you up for life. Are you a firm believer in that as well?
Oh, absolutely. That's where it all begins. And, especially because that's where we bring children and we love them and we nurture them and we challenge them, and you can make or break it. That's how they come to love school. If they have a great kindergarten teacher, great first grade teacher, they love school because the teacher has made it a place that says, that's where I want to be. This is where my friends are. This is where great people are. This is where I learn.
Absolutely. They learn so many skills at the primary level. As a former principal, I'm sure you could appreciate, you always want your best teachers at the primary level. Am I right?
Absolutely. They are the foundation,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes. Some principals just don't understand that they rather have them at the older grade. No. In my book, you have them early because if you can start them right, everything else just lines up. All right. So moving right along. So I'm sure you've had in your experiences some background with exceptional learners. Have you, in your leadership positions, have you been able to work with exceptional learners?
Sure. Well, obviously, when I was a primary teacher, we had all different learners, and honestly, at that time, maybe students that weren't diagnosed or identified with a special need, but that you have certain students that learn differently, who need more support or who need some new opportunities, some new challenges in the classroom. So that was my experience as a teacher. But as a principal, my experience was, having parents coming to our school, wanting their children to be educated in a Catholic school, but being concerned that maybe their needs wouldn't be met or there wasn't a good fit for them. And so as a principal, we did everything that we could to assure that that we had a good fit for the student, that we had the right teachers for the students, and that we could welcome as many students as desired to come to our school. And you were talking about being a primary teacher, and that's why as a principal it was always so important for me to be actively involved in understanding who the new students were that were applying to our school, because I wanted to ensure that we knew what their needs were, and that we were prepared when that student came. We were prepared to help them to be successful in our school. And I think if you start that at the kindergarten level, you can really begin to build a very positive trajectory for your students.
And as a superintendent, did you carry on that vision that you had for including the exceptional learners in your diocese?
Absolutely. In our diocese, we had a number of programs, both at the high school and at the elementary level, and continue to grow those programs over the time that I was there. But I remember one particular situation, which was fairly recently. We had one of our schools that had a few of their parishioners and parents of current students in the school who had children with Down syndrome. And the parents wanted the children there with their brothers and sisters And they were finding a lot of hesitancy at the school level. The school wasn't sure if they could serve those students. And so they talked to the school on several occasions, and it seemed that they were getting some roadblocks, not because the school obviously didn't want to invite the children, but there were some anxiety about that. And so I had one of the parents come, or the couple come, and really advocate for the child. And so we began to have more conversations, to reach out to an association that is close to home, where we are in the Washington area, which is the Catholic Coalition for Special Education, partner with the school. And today that school, and it was actually just 3 years ago, opened their door, and they're serving brothers and sisters in the school, but 3 students who have Down syndrome in the school. And in talking to the principal just 3 months into the program, she said, "It is the best decision we ever made. It is a joy for us to serve these students and their families."
Isn't that fantastic? And you, without me even having to talk about it, you just said exactly what the mission of exceptional learners and their success is, with the right supports, Barbara. I'm sure you can agree,
Mhm.
with the right supports, the students can succeed. And that's what it's all about. So that makes me very happy to hear that. Congratulations.
And
Um,
I also think it's
Go ahead.
important, Raul. One of the things that I think it's important, because it's not just that situation, but as a superintendent especially, and even as a principal talking to teachers, many times we see a student, especially a young student, coming in, and we think, we can serve this student in the here and now, but what will it mean when they go to 4th grade? And what will it mean when they go to 6th grade? Those are the kind of questions that are asked. And so I always say, you know what? We don't have all the answers. We put our faith in the fact that we do everything we can to serve the student, and you sort of just take one day at a time. Every day is a new day. You can't script it out. We can't script out life in general, but we
No.
especially can't script out what that experience will be with that child, or the gains that that child will make, or a roadblock that we might come up against. And then, but it's not insurmountable. And so I think that that's important to understand, is that when we think about making these decisions, we don't have to have all the answers right out of the gate. We just have to have the right heart and be diligent, and have our teachers on board, knowing how important it is to serve students who are exceptional learners.
Amen. Absolutely. Amen. Thank you for saying that. And as I've said many times, Barbara, we are all accountable to God for all the people that we will meet in our lives. Did we try to bring them closer to Him? Did we try to get them to heaven? And we might as well just start with these individuals. I mean, even as a teacher, as a primary teacher, you didn't know what you were getting, Barbara, but you made it
Mm-hmm.
work. You made it work because you learned about the students and you learned what their needs were, and that's how you move forward. That's exactly what we're asking for exceptional learners in Catholic schools. Don't say no because you think it's going to be difficult. We can provide the supports if you're really open to it. So, oh wow, okay, I'm glad we were able to talk about that. But you also have a great role at the National Catholic Educational Association. So for those that might be new to Catholic education, can you please share a bit about what NCA is about and your role at the organization?
Well, my role at the organization, I'll start there, and then I'll move on in terms of NCA. My role at the organization is to really provide leadership with regard to programming here at NCA, the professional development workshops we do, how we work with leadership, consultative services, even our publications, our webinars, all of those things that's really information and resource and collaboration that we provide our members. That really is the role of what my team is, which is the leadership and professional development team. NCA is the National Organization for Catholic Schools. It is the National Catholic Educational Association. And really our role is to provide, as I said, resources and support, advocacy around public policy, advocacy for individual students with special needs, whether it be an exceptional learner, whether it be a more diverse population that's being underserved in our schools, and in somehow we can advocate either for them to be present in our school or to get resources and funding for them. And really one of the main roles that NCA plays is to convene people from across the country, whether it be at our convention or via a webinar, but to bring people together that have shared interests, shared needs, to bring them together and to provide them with the opportunity to learn from one another, and then to learn from field and content experts who have walked that road or who have that academic background or just that professional experience. But the role really is to serve the member. NCA is a membership organization, so all that we do serves our members. And when we think about members, we think about teachers, principals, assistant principals, guidance counselors, superintendents, the whole diocesan office, but really families and students. Although they're not officially members of NCA, they are our members because we do what we do in order to serve the students and their families.
Fantastic, fantastic. So if you're new to Catholic schools or you're a new Catholic school teacher and you're listening to this, we highly encourage that you become a member of NCA. It has a vast amount of resources. I know I sound like a commercial for the organization, but it's incredible what the website holds and what the membership and its privileges. So with that in mind, and talking about exceptional learners, how has NCEA taken a leadership role with exceptional learners? What are they doing to enhance the mission of having exceptional learners in the classroom?
For a number of years, NCEA did conferences regarding the exceptional learner, but with the addition of the Director of Professional Development, Dr. Pam Bernards, we have really taken the next step into that role of advocacy and education. Through a committee that was formed, through collaboration with individuals such as yourself, Raul, with partners from higher education. The Exceptional Learners Committee has put together publications and information for our members. Not last summer, but the summer before, NCA hosted an Exceptional Learners Conference and brought people together for those same discussions. And we continue to do that, to have that as one of the key components of the repertoire of programs that we offer. We certainly know that that all should be welcome at our schools, and we also need to be realistic about the fact that people feel maybe they're understaffed or they don't have the resources, they don't know how to do it. And so the role of NCEA is to not only talk about programs and best practices, but to really support individual schools that are thinking about who they can serve, how they can serve them, and make the things that we know work for their school, because every school is not the same. Certainly every child's not the same. And so the role of NCEA is to be there and to support that process. And again, when I talk about that role of convening, how do we bring people together who will do this? You know, one of the examples of this in terms of NCA's commitment as well, I just thought of this as we were speaking. For our Catholic Leadership Summit, which is a conference for diocesan leaders that we have each fall, we have something called the New Leaders Academy. And the New Leaders Academy, we try to choose professional development opportunities and conversations that we believe really equip the new diocesan leader to begin their work. And that will include assistants and associate superintendents as well. And one of the programs that we will be offering this year will be Dr. Michael Boyle from Loyola University. It will be a session on exceptional learners, but the thing that I love about this particular session that we're going to do, it's not just Michael's leadership and his wisdom and his knowledge, but he is bringing with him 2 assistant superintendents who have helped to implement programs in their diocese and to provide resources and support for schools who want to do the same. So it was one of the programs that I wanted to bring because I wanted the diocesan leaders to that it is possible to really think about a diocese, not just a school, and think about how you can put a program in place that can either help to consult with a family and a principal when those issues arise, or help to build those programs, one student at a time, one class at a time. And so we're very excited to include that in our program for our new diocesan leaders this year.
Fantastic! I'm so happy to hear that. I applaud your efforts and NCA's efforts on that behalf. And if there are some leaders out there listening to the podcast, it isn't just university people speaking about the need or how to make it work. I mean, Mike Boyle is tremendous with this, and I have the pleasure of knowing him. but it's also leaders coming along for the ride and sharing their
Hmm.
best practices with it, which I'm sure you can appreciate as a leader yourself and as a former superintendent and principal. You need to know those real things are going on right now, that
Hmm.
there are success stories available, and that's the best way to start.
Exactly. And that's why I said, this program, it's not because of the presentation by a leader in higher education. It's because we have two, um, professionals, young professionals coming in who wanted this to happen in their diocese, and they made it happen. And that's the story I want the other diocesan leaders to hear about, the possibilities.
Fantastic, fantastic. So apart from conferences and the leadership uh, conference that you're having now, I know you also have other resources that I wanted to share. I know you have webinars to help the teachers, and
We
and
do
and you have just a plethora of stuff, if I can even use that word, on the website. So I highly encourage the teachers
that.
out
And
there.
yes, thank you so much. On our website, we have those resources available. Please go to our publication site and you can see even this, just recently last year, and the beginning of this year, that we've had briefs written regarding serving the exceptional learner, including English as a new language. And so there are a number of resources there. There are infographics on our website that sort of take a snapshot and make it easy to understand what the breadth of a program would be, or serving a diverse learner. So I do welcome both our members and even those who are non-members right now, that we want you to be our members, to go to the website and to see those resources that are available at nca.org.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my brother podcaster and Dr. Tim Ewell and his show
Absolutely.
Catholic School Matters. He's working with NCA, and so we have it covered on all ends. Tim is covering. I cover the exceptional learners, and Tim covers everything else. So as a Catholic school teacher, you have it covered. So you have a lot of help available. So
Absolutely.
so bringing it down to the simplest level, as a leader that you are, and if you can talk to your brother or your sister superintendent out there that's maybe in a smaller diocese, maybe some resources that they can't get to, like larger dioceses or archdioceses in the United States, and they really want to be faithful and start with this one school or this one individual to try to include in the classes. So, how can we help them, Barbara? What advice can you give them of how to try to start including students with exceptional learners in the classroom?
Well, I think going back to some of the things that I may have mentioned before, start small. Think about those teachers in your school who already have the mindset, the heart, to welcome, who would be willing to spend that little extra time or to be innovative in an approach. Think of those; they could be great advocates in starting the program for you. I think most importantly, it's to think of the possibility, to know that it could happen, and that, because many times I think that when we come up against challenges and we don't feel like we really have the know-how, often we'll find reasons, not to do it, and they sound very legitimate. We don't have a resource teacher, we don't have anyone with a special education background, or we don't have this or we don't have that. And so I think the first thing to do is to think about that student that you want to serve and really have those honest conversations with the parents. What other resources do the parents have to help support the work? How will they partner with the school? What are their expectations for their student? So I think it's important, not only with students who are exceptional learners, but with all students, is not trying to have something that is just our sort of static and say, all the kids must fit into this program, this way of doing it, but saying, you know what, if we did it a little bit different, if the schedule shifted a little bit, if they spent a little more time doing this, if the parents were able to maybe get, if they had maybe speech therapy that was outside the school. I don't know what that will be because every child needs something different. If you can kind of piece it all together, it could really happen. And I'll just say from my own experience, even from my own personal experience, I have a son who has some learning disabilities, who's a very successful student. but you kind of piece it all together and you help them believe in themselves, and somehow it happens, and I think that you'll find that if you have honest conversations with parents and they know that you approach those honest conversations with care and concern and love in your heart for their child, that they'll be open and receptive to the things that you're saying and the things that you need for their child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one final question that I ask all my guests is, what should Catholic special education look like? I know we've been talking about it for a few minutes now, but just tie it up in a bow for us, will you, Barbara?
Well, it's hard to think of our schools if we say that we're there to welcome God's children. That some of God's children would not be welcome. But Catholic special education should be an opportunity to at least explore how students can be served in your school. I think that people worry about resources and not having those financial resources or the staffing resources, but special education should be about having an open heart and open mind to what those possibilities are, and at a minimum exploring those options, and then next giving it a try, seeing if it could really work, working the program, and is welcoming as many children as you can. And really, I say this as with an association, reaching out, and NCA is a place to begin to set you in the right direction, but reach out for people who have done these things, who have walked this road, who have learned from their successes, but more importantly, have learned from their mistakes. Reach out to people, because it is so worthwhile doing. Because my experience has been, and everyone that I've ever talked to who has walked this road, it is truly a gift to the other students when they can have students in their classroom that they can support, that they can mentor, that they can learn from as well. So it's God's community, and so all of these children should have an opportunity to be part of the faith community as well.
Amen, Barbara. Amen. I love the way you're ending this podcast. I want to thank you for joining me today, Barbara. I wish you nothing but prayer and blessings as you continue your great work at NCEA, and I hope we can talk together real soon. May God bless you.
Absolutely. God bless you, Raul.
Well, that's it for this week. If this podcast was a blessing to you, can you please head over to iTunes and subscribe and give us a review or a rating? It really does help other Catholic educators find the podcast and use it as a resource. Thanks again to the amazing people at RCL Benziger for generously sponsoring this podcast. Check out their new resource for Catholic schools, Blessed Are We, Faith in Action, which enables teachers to share the love of Christ with children who have special needs. Visit rclbenziger.com to learn more. Join me again next time as we continue to advance God's kingdom by including all of God's children in Catholic schools and faith formation. Until then, this is Dr. Raul Escarpio. Thanks for listening, and may God bless your day.